Making sure the mic is coming through because you know it was acting a little foolish last week. But what's up, good people? Hopefully everything is coming through the way it's supposed to. You guys can hear me, and that's all that matters. So what's happening, good people? I'll wait a few moments to make sure you guys are up in here before we get officially started here. And I hope everybody's having a great night. For you guys who are watching this on the rebound, you know, I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate you coming through. But like I said, I'm going to wait a few moments to make sure everything is coming in nice and clear. And then we'll get it cracking. It looks like we are live. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, brought to you live from this steel basement. And let's see what's happening, man. Let's see what you guys are talking about here early. Always like to give some quick shout outs to the early viewers. What's up to Steve Williams, Michael Garman, Ali Howard, Jason Winningham. Hello, Lanisha. Proper welcome to the ladies of the chat. So how you doing, Miss Lanisha? Lee Sharp, Nays is in the building. He's already talking about the Hall of Fame game. Should be a regular season game one. Nays, what are you talking about? We play the Cowboys this year also, but, you know, I know, you know, sometimes your thoughts and opinions are a little outlandish, but I enjoy it. But what have you. But let's see who else is in here. Hello, the next lady of the chat, man. First lady of the chat, actually, because Debbie was the first one. Then Lanisha came. So let's say hello to Miss Debbie as well. My brother Kenyon in the building. Lance in the building. Let's get to it, man. So, yeah. Hall of Fame game. Well, actually, I see a few of you guys still rolling in, man. So I'll wait a few more minutes before we get started. And definitely, anything you guys want me to cover tonight, let me know. Put it in the chat. Make sure I see it because, you know, I'm not always looking over there. I'm mainly looking at the camera, so it's very easy for me to miss. If any of you guys are listening through the queue, please let me know if the queue is working. If not, we'll just have to do the rigmarole like we did last week. Well, you guys will just talk. I just won't be able to talk back live or what have you, but hopefully that works. And again, if any of you guys do want to call, if you want to give a call in tonight, hopefully everything is working the way it's supposed to with Blog Talk, but the number is 619-924-0818. And there you have it. So, all right, let's see who else has joined really quick before we get going. My father-in-law, Leonard, just left his house, man. My lovely wife made tacos tonight for Taco Tuesday. And me and Leonard threw down a little bit, man, and I just walked on over here. Because you guys, you know, I've already told you, man, my father-in-law, Leonard, lives right over there, same neighborhood. It's cool to have family that close, man. Drip, what's up? Another Leonard in the building. Leonard Green, how you doing? I'm not sure I've seen your name before, so welcome if you're new. And Eli, what's going on, Eli? All right, man, let's jump into it. So I'm going to start with something light, something that we all pretty much know already before we get into the meat of what we want to talk about. So we hear that Le'Veon Bell was in Pittsburgh. Now, I don't know exactly when. I'm assuming it was over the weekend, but we have news coming out that Le'Veon Bell was spotted in Pittsburgh, and of course, it sent people into a frenzy. Talking about, man, he should come back and we should sign him and this and that and this and that. Guys, one thing that you have to pay attention to, and I'm not blaming anybody here in this chat, but, you know, maybe if you are one of those folks, maybe this is something you need to hear. There's two things you need to consider. One, Le'Veon Bell is under contract. That's number one. So nothing can happen unless Le'Veon Bell is released, cut, which pretty much the same thing, or there's a trade. Okay, he signed a contract with the New York Jets. And we definitely know that last year the New York Jets, I believe coach, I think it was the coach more so than the owner. The coach wasn't particularly happy about the signing, and, you know, we heard rumors that they didn't have a great relationship, et cetera, et cetera. Didn't really seem like they did, you know, if you kind of watch their chemistry on field and things like that. So, yeah, the possibility is there. However, again, guaranteed money. I'm not sure if the Jets want to cut ties like that. So the only way that it could possibly happen is via trade. Then you ask yourself, what would Pittsburgh have to give up? There is no first round pick. Okay? You would assume maybe a second round pick. But what else would it cost? What would it cost the Pittsburgh Steelers to trade for Le'Veon Bell? Not thinking that the Steelers are willing to do that in the scenario that we're currently in. And also, I mean, there is history there. But again, you got to think about the history that Le'Veon Bell left. Was it as, obnoxious as Antonio Brown's history? No. However, it was a financial burden. He didn't return phone calls to the owner and the coach and GM, et cetera, et cetera. Now, of course, I know, things can be mended because it wasn't a nasty split as nasty as Antonio Brown's split with the Steelers. It was more of a financial dispute. It's a business. Even those who are in the business understand that. So I don't think you take things personally. But of course, that's still going to be in the back of your head when you're making another business decision. So all in all, I'm here to say, man, just because he was in Pittsburgh, it doesn't mean anything. Hey, I would love for some type of situation to happen where Le'Veon Bell lands back in Pittsburgh. But you got to be realistic, guys. I don't see it happening because of the circumstance that he is in contractually, as well as I don't see it. I just don't see it happening. Period. I don't see it happening the way it would need to happen. Then let's talk about if we were able to acquire him, right? Can we pay him right now when we're in the cap situation that we're in? Can we take on a contract like that? Probably not. Now, I'm sure people are going to come up with some crazy scenarios. Even before I even look over here in the chat, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody says something like sign Bud Dupree and then trade him. And still ain't going to work. It's still not going to work. It's still not going to be as comfortable as it could be, considering the cap situation. But whatever. I just don't think that's going to happen. Speaking of cap and speaking of guys coming to Pittsburgh, here's another one that, that's sparking a lot of conversation for whatever reason. So, and I can't remember who wrote it, but, it was reported out there that, someone was saying that Jameis Winston would be a great fit in Pittsburgh. So let me talk about that a little bit. And shout outs to Relfax, man. If Relfax is here, and I think it was Relfax that mentioned this last week. I could be wrong, but I think it was Relfax that said, not for nothing, what if we was able to get Jameis Winston? And I think I said it to you guys last week. Listen, I'm a Knowles fan. I rock for anything from Florida State. I'm going to campaign for my guys the best way I can. But here's the problem with that. I don't think Jameis Winston would be wanting to be a backup. I just don't see that happening. Yes, you could say maybe he could use some humble pie and try to get his skills back up to par. And, after going through what he went through this season with the interceptions versus touchdowns and ups and downs, I get it. But I don't think Jameis Winston is willing to do that, number one. Number two, I'm pretty sure that it's going to cost a lot of money, which again, folks, we don't have any. The Pittsburgh Steelers do not have a lot of room to wiggle when it comes to cap. We're already in a situation where we're going to be giving up guys. And let's take a quick pause and recognize Supreme Trapper. Want to give you a salute. I don't know if you're watching this stream right now and you subscribed, or if you just subscribed from watching a pre-recorded video. But if you're in here, we want to give you a huge shout out and a thank you. But also, guys, let me go on this small tangent because I'm kind of off what I wanted to go into. But, things happen when you're talking live, right? Like I said, monetarily, it's not going to happen. Regardless of what people feel about Jameis Winston, or his skill level, where he is in his career, et cetera, that don't mean nothing when we're talking about business. And we're talking about a business that recognizes the value of said position, being quarterback. Look at Dak Prescott right now. It's reported that Cowboys offered this dude over $100 million guaranteed and he hasn't signed. It was reported before that they offered him $33 million average per year. Didn't sign. You see what I'm saying? Now, some people will say Dak Prescott is worth it. Some people will say he's not. But again, like I said, it's a business. Certain quarterbacks are worth, not even certain quarterbacks. The quarterback position has tiers, and there's a value level at each tier. Jameis Winston is in the tier of double digit, probably. Double-digit salary, at least 10, 12 million, something like that. I'm just guessing. Something the Steelers is not going to pay for. Definitely not for a backup quarterback. I mean, if you want to say that they see him as being the guy that will, take over for Ben Roethlisberger, that's a whole different story. But we're just talking about the right now. I don't think that's something that's going to happen right now. But I don't understand, guys, how as fans we get so crazy with these ideas sometimes, thinking, I'm not saying you can't have an idea, but we have to be realistic when we're thinking about what we expect our beloved team to do. If we're real fans, and again, I'm not knocking anybody. I was once, when I was a lot younger, when I was in my teens and things like that, obviously I wasn't thinking about that either. But like I said, I've gradually grown into more of a understanding the business type of fan. And I started understanding the business, at 22, 24, 25. I started saying, okay, I see what the Steelers are doing. When I started realizing that we weren't signing some of these big name free agents, I started learning over the years how the organization works. So now being in this position, a self-proclaimed Steeler journalist, if you will, I kind of review things from a business standpoint, organizational standpoint, skill standpoint, things like that. I look at the whole picture and I try to evaluate it and think, what would the Steelers do in this situation? What would they normally do? Now, I'm always cool with pleasant surprises like moving up to get Devin Bush. A shout outs to Joy Wagner for the subscription. Always cool with the pleasant surprises like moving up to get Bush, like trading for Minkah Fitzpatrick, which I don't recall seeing a time when the Steelers didn't have a first round pick. I don't think it's since I've been watching them. Unconventional. I'm always cool with that, but you have to look at things from a conventional standpoint, meaning what your team normally does. They're not paying that for a backup quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger is not going to sit on the bench. So there you have it. Jameis Winston talk, throw it out the window. It's not going to happen. All right, so let's stick with the theme, man, of, hate to say it, but we're going to talk about Bud Dupree, but let's stick with the theme of salary and things of that nature. Once again, Bud Dupree, guys, it does feel like, and sorry, my nose keep itching here, guys. It does feel like that the inevitable is going to happen, meaning he's going to be tagged. Just recently, we saw today, I'm reading here, Paul Alexander, former offensive line coach in the NFL. He basically weighed in on what the Steelers would, needing to tag Bud Dupree and the reason why. And he basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said that the kid has finally learned how to rush. He said before that he was more of a, one-trick pony, which I've said, Kenyon said, quite a few of you guys have said, we all have said that has been Bud Dupree's Achilles heel, is the fact that he had the physical tools, size, strength, speed, but it seemed like he only had one option. And if that didn't work, there's nothing else. No counter, nothing, no initial move. This year, he actually started putting together more pass rush moves. Now, he's still probably not as fluent or as natural of a rusher as TJ Watt, but we did start seeing Bud Dupree utilize his hands a little bit, some hand usage, displaying a few different tactics. So maybe what this guy is saying is might be correct. Maybe he did just learn or finally came into his own and finally putting the training that he's putting in the offseason, working with specialists, finally came together. Coincidentally, it's in the contract year. But regardless, it came together, right? And a lot of us would say the kid was hurt. Maybe this is the most healthy he's been. A number of different reasons, but either way, he's saying the same thing. The Steelers need to find a way to tag him. So it seems like what everybody is alluding to is that the Steelers will definitely try to find a way to keep him. And that's going to put us in a pinch, which means there may be a couple other guys that, are going to get cut. And it's crazy, man. It's March 10th, right? We haven't heard anything yet, which lets you know that the Steelers are up against it. They're up against it, man, as far as any type of moves. And I'm curious to know what they're contemplating. Who they're contemplating. Because, I even saw today on SteelersDepot.com, they were saying that it doesn't look like, I guess there was some tweet that Zach Banner put out, and they said it was kind of cryptic, where it kind of alludes to the fact that he probably knows that he's not going to get a tender. So then that they started talking about, Mike Hilton possibly not. And I'm like, wow, like, where are they going to trim the fat? Because if we're being real about our Steelers, yeah, we look pretty solid on defense right now, but you take Mike Hilton out of that equation, let's just assume. It's a little different. Because now you got to rearrange who's going to be the nickel corner and then who comes in for dime package. And see what I'm saying? We're probably going to lose Javon Hargrave, which most of us know that already. So you're down 2 men right there. Offensive line depth, even though these guys aren't proven, you don't try to do anything with Zach Banner or Fowler. It's interesting, to say the least. And we don't have a lot of money, so that means bottom of the barrel type of free agent, excuse me. It's going to be interesting, man. So pretty soon here, we'll know a little something. Now, some of you guys may be expecting the Steel table. I got to be open and honest with you guys. I was planning on doing it this week, but I hit up Tony and Kenyon, and I told them both, man, the week flew by so fast, I haven't looked at one piece of film. And I don't want to give you guys a half-butt effort. I don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to spend this week leading up to next Tuesday to identify some guys that I want to pay attention to. I'm probably going to look at running backs, receivers, tight ends first and foremost, and then I might look at a few pass rushes because I want to have some guys that I can throw out there, saying that I've looked at. I'm sure Kenyon is going to have some guys. Kenyon mentioned to me he's going to rewatch the combine. So I want to be a little more prepared. I don't want to be that guy that just half it. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. So I apologize for that, if you were looking forward to that, but we will definitely get that going next week. Tony said, ironically, that he wouldn't have been able to make tonight's show, but he'll probably make it next week. So we're going to shoot for next Tuesday. I don't want to put it off too much longer, so let's just say if Tony and or Kenyon, if one of those guys isn't able to make it next week, we'll still just go ahead and do it, but at least that gives us another week to lock in some, some scouting, if you will. So there you have it. So the next thing I want to get into really quick, man. Yes, the Steelers. And before I even say it, let's throw a round of applause for this. The Steelers get a third-round compensatory pick, which we all thought would happen. But it's always good to get that confirmation. So we are going to get a third-round pick. You guys know that third-round pick was already given away, so we were dangling, going into the draft anyway, but at least being able to get back a compensatory pick, that's good news. So right now, we have about 6 picks, if I'm not mistaken, still no first-round pick. Obviously, we know that. But it gives us some room to work, man, because I think this is going to be an interesting draft. Like I've said before, I think number 49, that first pick that we have, coming in the second round is probably going to be best available. I don't know if the sure shot for the need-filled guy will be there. I think more of the need and depth type guys we're going to find later. But at 49, you're going to be in that fringe area where the most highly projected guys have already gone. And then there might be some more guys behind that, but you may not have them ranked as high. So I think at 49, we're going to go best available, and maybe it'll be a position that we like, like receiver or another running back or tight end. Maybe not. But I think after that, they're going to start finding some undercover gems, because we need help. Again, we all know them. We know the positions. Tight end, backup safety, pass rusher, because we don't know what's going to happen with Bud Dupree. So do you want to take a chance and wait till next year? We don't know. All right, so pass rusher might be lower down the spectrum, so they might go later rounds for that, but we're going to need interior offensive linemen. So you're already working with offensive line, tight end, wide receiver, running back. Like I said, I think after the 49th pick in the draft, it's going to be more plug in some holes, get some depth, hope you strike oil on one of these guys. But at 49, I really feel like it's going to be best available. So we shall see. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about, man, before I get into the calls. Now, guys, I see 724 and 803 in the queue. If somebody can confirm to me that you're able to hear me through the queue, all right, if you can confirm that you're able to hear me through the queue and not just through the stream, that'd be great. So at least I know that you can hear me and I know how to approach it in case you're unable to hear me. So somebody let me know that. And like I said, if I missed the comment, you guys let me know. Okay, he says yes. All right, so I think that's him replying. So great. You're able to hear me in the queue. But all right, man, before I get to the phone calls, let me get to my last point, and then we'll take some calls. Steelers will be playing in the Hall of Fame game, man, against the Dallas Cowboys. And that's some good news, in my opinion, and let me explain to you why. Training camp starts a little earlier, so that's great for us. For us, the fans, we get to hear a little more. And also, with that being the case, I think I do want to try to go up if I can. I'm planning on trying to go to Latrobe at least once this year. I've never done it before. I usually go to a game every year. You guys know last year I went to the Colts game. I have plans to do the same thing this year. Not quite sure which game I want to attend. But I've never been to training camp, so with it being a little earlier, that actually works into my schedule a little better. I might, get a chance to slide up there. So camp is going to open a little earlier, so I would love to do that. But then also, man, you get more games to evaluate. You're going to have 5 preseason games. More games to evaluate who you have. I love that, me personally. I love that. For those guys who are fighting to make the team, for those guys who are fighting for depth chart position, I love having more opportunities. So that's pretty much all I got on it. I mean, no big deal. I don't get overly excited about the Hall of Fame game. I mean, like I said, it's like first week of practice for the most part. It's going to be some sloppy football out there, but it's cool to just, get to see your team earlier than everyone else. And that's great, especially since the Steelers will be facing off against the Cowboys in this upcoming, schedule anyway. So that's cool. Only thing else I will say about that is, you see I have Troy Polamalu right there as the thumbnail. And the reason why I did that, because obviously, man, as an ode to him, I want to give, quick homage to Polamalu. He is one of the main reasons why the Steelers is being represented in this year's Hall of Fame, along with Bill Cowher, and as well as Donnie Shell and Faneca should have made it also. But, you got to always show some love to Polamalu, man. It's going to be great. I hope that they're able to mend their differences. I hope something can happen between him and the Steelers organization to at least, make it more meaningful. I hope there's no friction between those two, at least on a day like that, So we shall see. But that's all I got, man. There's not a whole lot more to talk about. We'll see what the callers have. Actually, one last thing. Well, you know what? I'm going to ask you guys this question after the phone calls, because I want to make sure I see your responses before I dive into it. So let's get to the calls, man. You guys know the routine. Keep it short, man, if you can. In and out, please. Not too long. I would appreciate it. First and foremost, we got 4 calls in queue, so quick, fast. First up, area code 724. How you doing tonight?
Not too bad. How's it going, Sim?
Good, man. What you got for us?
Well, I just want to let you know I appreciate the show. And I wanted to ask you and, everybody else in chat, what makes everybody think that Big Ben is going to give us the best chance to win the 7th ring when we know that he can't scramble like he used to? And our offensive line has took a couple steps back since Mike Manchak left town. And being that Big Ben led the league in interceptions in 2018, and we still don't know if Juju's a number 1, what makes everybody think that we are going to make it to the Super Bowl or even make it to the playoffs again this season coming up?
Man, that is a good question, and I appreciate the call. Thank you for that. I'm going to respond to it. You know what? if we're being open and honest, we can't go into this thing just expecting that it's going to be, you know what I mean? We just can't. We can't. We don't know. We don't know if he's the same, number one. That's the first thing we have to consider. We don't know if he is going to come back the same player. Number two, what you just said. We all see that the league is transforming into a mobile quarterback type. You know, I more so prefer Patrick Mahomes style more than a Lamar Jackson right now. But Lamar Jackson, I think, will be better. No, I don't mean better than Mahomes. I mean he will be a better player. But just that full stationary type of guy, and I'm not going to say that Ben is just stationary, but at this stage of his career, it's not like he's outrunning anybody. We understand that. But yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point. That's number two. Here's another point. Yes, he led the league in interceptions. You guys have probably heard me say that quite often. It was so ironic that last year, the year before, 2018, sets records. You know, I believe he set his, I want to say, career high in touchdowns. I know yards, but also interceptions. Very, very Brett Favre-ish in that regard. So I didn't like that. So I don't want that type of Ben Roethlisberger returning. I know a lot of times, even I've said, I think a lot of those interceptions, some of them, if we go back and look, he's forcing it to AB, so you don't have that situation. Speaking of receivers, you're right. We don't know what Juju Smith-Schuster is. I still have high hopes in him. I know it's hard to judge him last year, so I'm not going to really do it. But when we get to really see him with a healthy Ben Roethlisberger, and if he's still not able to produce, then maybe he's not a number one. We shall see. But all valid questions. The only thing that gives me a glimpse of hope is I think even with the 16 interceptions, if Roethlisberger, if he can produce what he produced in 2018 with the defense we had last year, we have a chance. We have a chance, but the likelihood of both of those things coming together, can't say I trust it. Think about it. In the season, we all were saying, man, can we get a game where both of them are playing well? But we'll see. And I apologize, guys. I'm a little long-winded there in my response, so I'm going to shorten that up, I promise. Great job on the length of the call, 724. So I hope the rest of you guys follow that blueprint, and I will stop yapping my big yap and shorten my response time. So let's move on to the next one. Area code 803. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How you doing tonight? Always appreciate the show.
Good, man.
I'm going to be very quick. Got some quick pointers. So much was made of Ben Roethlisberger's 16 interceptions, which compared to Jameis Winston, that was actually pretty low.
Yeah.
But, so much is made about those 16 interceptions. I think he gets a little bit too much flack for that, which leads me to segue into Jameis Winston. I think he won't get the money that he thinks he's going to get because Jameis Winston still has not proven a level of maturity since he's been in the NFL. And we need to know what Zach Banner and Chuks Okafor can do. Yeah. Those are two guys we have developed, but they have not spent extensive amount of time on the field. And my question, last but not least, which leaves me with upcoming contracts such as T.J. Watt and a few others, does this actually leave Bud Dupree, possibly Juju Smith-Schuster, and James Conner in doubt of getting a contract extension? Thank you so much.
Man, wonderful question. Appreciate you, 803 every week, man. Always, is it me, guys, or to me, he always has that wisdom sound in his voice, you know, like, and I don't know how old he is or whatever. He just has a wisdom sound. I love hearing from him, man. Really quick, like I said, I'm gonna shorten my responses. Let me be quick. I agree with Jameis Winston. Hasn't showed the level of maturity and or consistent play to get the money that he thinks he deserves. We'll see. Banner and Chuks, yes. If we keep Banner, we definitely need to see what these guys can do because I'm not sold on Matt Fowler. Not going to be too hard on him. It was his first year technically starting, but I didn't like what I saw out of him throughout the season. And absolutely, man, with Bud Dupree, listen, that's a good question. Let me tackle the TJ Watt point really quick. I think Watt is going to work out for us because I think what they're going to do, I would assume from a business standpoint, they're going to throw the 5th-year option at him. That keeps him signed this coming season and next. Roethlisberger is gone then as well. So going into that 3 seasons from now, we could probably work a deal with him at that point. So that's probably how that's going to work. That's going to buy them some time. I think they do a handshake with him and say, look, we're going to take care of you. Ride with us until Ben is off the contract, and then we'll negotiate that year. Boom. But Juju and Connor could be in doubt. Connor more than Juju. We'll see how Juju performs. Appreciate it, man. Next call, area code 203. What you got for us tonight?
Hey, Sim Joe Delavecchia here. How you doing tonight?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. So quick on the Bud Dupree thing. I'm a fan of giving him the franchise tag, pretty much because the franchise tag was made for a player like Bud. A guy that a team likes but doesn't love, where they just need a little more reassurance that, okay, when they go to the contract negotiation and they put a long-term contract down, that they know that it's going to pay off. And I don't know that they feel quite confident yet, and they really need one more really solid year to feel comfortable putting that in front of them. So, not only do I think it's the right thing to franchise him, but I think it was made for a player like Bud Dupree. But that's it. Thanks for everything you do, and keep up the great work.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. And you know what? I agree with you. In theory, what you said, you're absolutely right. And it's funny that Bud Dupree's situation lines up perfectly with it, right? Unsure, because he didn't have great seasons, leading up to last season. Has some injury history. It looks like he had the tools, but just never developed. And then all of a sudden, boom, he has this season. And I think you said it perfectly. He is a perfect candidate. It just sucks, man, that our Steelers are just in this cap situation. And again, that's what happens when you have $100 million quarterback still on your roster. And especially being near the end of it with all the restructures and the way we do deals. And, the bulk of it is just showing up now. So, yeah, you're right, though. I fully agree. I'm not mad at getting him signed. I just wonder what it's going to cost us to franchise tag him and or sign him. We'll see. Next up, area code 651. What you got for us?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Tim, I got a question. Well, a couple questions. I just want to see what you think about. One thing, two players that I think will be afforded with this rumored to be back on the market is Jesse James. They're saying he might be on his way out of Detroit, and not like they paid him much. And Hubbard is on his way out of Cleveland. These are two guys that work pretty well with us. Some got overpaid just to leave. I mean, they could fill up some spots to not take away our draft picks. Another thing is, I was thinking about running backs, and not for the reason a lot of people are saying it. One is, since Thomas been there, he's been a one-back guy. He don't switch out people as much as he should. At least I think he should. And Connor hadn't been able to stay healthy. So when Ben comes back, we can't just go out here and air it out.
Yeah.
We got to have somebody that can catch out the backfield, pick up blocks, run. We got to have that guy. And it's a draft for it. And if we're going to do it, we got to do it now. Because if we go out there, run the ball the way we did last year, it's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be real tough. All right, man. Thanks.
Man, thank you as well. That's great points right there, man. So I'll hit those real quick. Jesse James and Hubbard, let me tell you something, guys. If we do it the same way 651 just said it, I'm not opposed to it. If you're able to get Jesse James fairly cheap, because his market, his value's got to be a little bit down right now, as well as Hubbard. Hubbard could be that piece that if we don't tender Zach Banner or Filer, one of those guys, and maybe you do have Hubbard being able to come in and plug a few holes on the cheap. So those are definitely a couple guys to look out for as far as, like they like to say, Colbert's, trash can or garbage can bargains or what have you. Those could be some guys, and I'm not opposed, definitely not to Jesse James. Hubbard, you know, I wasn't always sold on Hubbard, but he knows the system. But definitely Jesse James. You know, at least Jesse James could give you some quality, you know, backup tight end, you know, type of fulfillment there, you know, behind Vance McDonald. If Vance McDonald is retained on the roster. So it's all of this is up in the air. And with the running back situation, you're correct. I wish we would go to more of a running back committee now that we don't really have that Le'Veon Bell type of down for down guy. Connor could be it perhaps, but can't stay healthy. So, yep, fully agree with you there. I hope we do look to get possibly another running back, even though we have a couple guys on the roster. Me personally, I think we could replace a guy like Jalen Samuels. I like Benny Snell. I like him being a thumper the way he is. I have high hopes for Karif White just because of that speed and his vision. His vision surprised me more than anything else. I didn't know much about him until I started watching him with us. Quick cut guy, and his vision, you know, he was seeing a lot of things coming, and he was, you know, cutting before it even got there. I wish we could have seen more of that. But yeah, that's how I feel on that, man. So I appreciate the call. And looks like the last call of the night, area code 412. This must be a Pittsburgh guy. What you got for us tonight?
Hey, Sim, how you doing? This is Patrick.
Oh, what's going on, man?
How are you?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. How about you?
I'm blessed. Couple things. One, I don't believe we really need to draft a running back, even though I understand a lot of people's belief in us needing a running back. I feel like it will be running back by committee. Maybe I'm just optimistic, and I wouldn't be too quick to give up on guys like Samuels and Connor because of what they can give and bring to the team. I feel like Benny Snell, once training camp begins, might see more, and I want to see him more with the first team because he's kind of like that. I don't know if this makes sense, but when I think of Benny Snell, I think of Manu Ginobili, and I think of him as a guy that. Remember, if you're familiar with what Popovich did with Ginobili when it came to the playoffs, he put him in the bench because as the opposing team got tired, he knew that Manu is going to be fresh, and he's like, I got him, and Manu would just go off. That's how I see Benny Snell. As the more times the Steelers are on the field, the defense is going to get tired. So that's when you bring a bulldozer like Snell in on maybe like third down, third and short to keep the drive moving, so he can just take that big frame of his, go up the middle and create opportunities. And so that's what I feel about that. And when it comes to wide receiver, I'm hesitant. On drafting one so quick, maybe not necessarily in the second round, because the question I think Steelers fans need to ask themselves, as well as Colbert and Tomlin, because I'm hearing names like Claypool and Denzel Mims, which is fine and all good. But if you're going to draft a receiver in the second round with the 49th overall pick, the question you have to ask, and Colbert and Tomlin have to ask, is, are you content with the two guys you have at 1 and 2? Because how I see it is, if you draft a guy like Claypool and Mims, you're saying that they could possibly be the number 1 or possibly number 2 guy to complement Juju.
Right.
I think we need to draft a receiver, and I believe Alex Kozora, I heard him mention this on one of his, when I was watching him on YouTube, we need a receiver to help bolster the middle of the field because we don't necessarily see enough of that. And there's a couple guys, and I didn't necessarily see them on the Steelers pre-draft visit, but I really like Devin Duvernay from Texas. I will ride for that guy big time. And Lynn Bowden from Kentucky. If there's a team that is familiar with a talent like Lynn Bowden, it's the Steelers, because He has played quarterback before. And we've had former quarterbacks turn wide receivers that have been successful on the Steeler roster. Ergo, Hines Ward and Randall L. So the Steelers, if they were to go that route, draft one of those two guys, they'll not just bring more to this team in the slot position per se, but they'll bring a presence in the special teams. Lynn Bowden could be a Swiss Army knife like Deebo Samuels was in the 49ers, and maybe you could see him get some pass opportunities and add another dimension to the Steeler offense. That's my thing. Thank you, Sim.
Not a problem, man. Thank you as well. Some great points there that I want to chime in on, and I'm actually taking a note here. I want to go back and mention something that Rail Facts is mentioning here in the chat, so I don't want to forget that. But yeah, man, listen, I think you make very compelling points. And I want to say that I kind of said, I can actually take this off now. I said earlier, I want to say a couple weeks ago, that don't be surprised if the Steelers don't go running back early or wide receiver. And you guys probably remember that, you guys that watch the show every week. And the reason why I was saying it is I think similar to what my man is saying there. If you really think about it, man, later in the season, right, even with those quarterbacks we had, we started to see the emergence of Deante Johnson. You guys know how I feel about Deante Johnson from after I scouted him, after they announced him being the pick. I didn't know who he was, and I said, let me see who this kid is, because there were other receivers there in the draft that I thought we would have taken over him, and the fact that they took him, and the fact that once I watched the post-game interview, post-draft, post-pick interview with Darryl Drake, God rest his soul, I was like, wait a minute now. They're talking way too good about this guy that I've never heard of. I know the Steelers have had a good history with drafting and developing receivers, so I went and looked at his film. And remember what I said. Came back here and I said, yo, this kid is nasty. Little raw, little rough around the edges, but if he gets it together, he's going to be a problem. We start seeing the type of player that he could be in just his first season, right? We saw James Washington come on some more. So it's very easy that you could say, well, the Steelers could sit back and just say those are going to be our top three guys. Find a piece or two later in the draft, or a guy like Kane, if they bring Kane back to camp, that Darboh kid, a couple guys that might be on the roster now that might be able to fill the 4th and 5th spot. Who knows what they're going to do with Switzer? I hope nothing. No disrespect, but maybe they don't go receiver early. Maybe they find that complimentary guy later. I can see that. Same thing with the running backs. Okay? James Conner. I'm going to agree with my man as well. Listen, I don't want to throw James Conner away. It just makes me nervous that Conner doesn't stay healthy. I love everything about James Conner, man. I love his story. Number one, I became an instant fan of his when he got drafted, and I knew when I really realized what his story was with him overcoming leukemia and all that kind of stuff. And he plays with a chip. He plays with a chip on, an edge. He just runs with an edge with him. He just seems like the type of guy that will run through a wall, right? Love that about him. Very nasty demeanor. He's decisive. He's not really the guy that's the sleight of feet type of guy, but he is quick enough. Remember the juke move he did last year that brought out of his arsenal I didn't know he had. Runs with power. He's not the fastest guy, but he hits it quick. Love everything about James Conner. Has a few drop issues in the past game, but you could hopefully overcome that. My only concern with Conner is his health. However, if Tomlin and company can become more of a running back by committee type of mentality, it might work. Now, it's hard to say that a philosophy is going to change when you've been doing it for X amount of years, but it might work. It could work with Conner and Snell and even Samuels and Kareth White, who I want to see more of because he has that it factor, meaning he could be out at any given time if he has a lane. I want to see that speed on display. We haven't really seen that since Willie Parker. I mean, there's other guys that they drafted. What was the kid from Miami, I think it was? Chris Rainey. Didn't pan out. Guy, Drew Archer. But Kerrith White reminds me of what Willie Parker was to a Jerome Bettis. Just trying to give you a comparison as far as what kind of back I see him as. He might not be a great back, but decent enough. And like I said, he showed me some vision and pop that I didn't know he had because I didn't know nothing about him. So, yeah, I agree. We might not have to go early with these guys, but they might. And like you said, if they go receiver that early, that means somebody they're not sure about being the number 2. We'll see. Well, who knows? Might not be sure about somebody being the number 1. You never know. We'll see. But I wanted to comment really quick, man, on a couple things. I got to go back up here and grab Relfax, grab his comment. And I wanted to comment on what I was saying about Jalen Samuels. I'm not saying that I'm ready to get rid of him, but I feel like right now, if you told me, all right, man, going into this season, we can only keep 3 of the 4 of these backs. Me personally, right now, it would be Connor, Snell, and White. Only because I think Kerrith White has a chance to be something. To be that lightning to the thunder that we have on the roster. I think James Conner is the best back we have if healthy to date. I know some people feel like it is Jalen Samuels. I saw Nays say that, that's your opinion. I don't think so. I think if James Conner is healthy, James Conner has shown that he's a very serviceable, very good back, if healthy. But it's hard to knock someone's health because he might mess around and have injury-free season. You remember when a while back, I'll say about 3 or 4 years ago, Roethlisberger was getting hurt every year. Then he had those 2 years that he played 16 games. We hadn't seen that in years. Then, of course, he got hurt last year, but that was more of a non-contact injury. But what I'm saying is, who knows? Maybe Connor mess around and finally have a game where he's not, or a season where he's not injured. But I'm just saying, Connor has the most potential, or he is, to me, the best back when healthy. I love the upside of Benny Snell. And I like the potential of Kerrith White. And that's why I said, out of those 4, I would take those guys instead of Jalen Samuels. Not saying I don't like Jalen Samuels, but I still don't think Jalen Samuels is the in-between the tackles, all-around type of guy. He's just not. I think the rest of those guys have an opportunity. Maybe not so much Kerrith White, but I think clearly Benny Snell can be an every down back, maybe not so much in the pass game, but he can carry the mail. Obviously, James Conner can when he's healthy. So that's just my thoughts on that. Let me go back up, man, and grab what Relfax said, and then I'll get to the rest of the chat, and then we'll get up out of here. Where is it? And what's up, Relfax, by the way? It was something you said earlier, man. See if I can find it. I think it's what you were talking about, the signing of the receivers long term. Yeah, I wanted to comment on that. He says, I just saw it, man. There it is. He says, I'm not sure Pittsburgh will evaluate signing receivers long term since AB, Wallace, and Sanders all flamed. He says, especially AB because we did pay him long term and it came back to bite us. I don't necessarily agree 100% with saying it came back to bite us, and here's the reason why. Up until that last season, we hadn't won nothing with Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, look at the amount of production he put up for the Pittsburgh Steelers on that 4 or 5 year stretch. Let's not forget that, right? Antonio Brown wasn't the problem in terms of the field. He played his contract. Now, he acted a fool here recently. But even in that season, he was putting up numbers and had the most touchdowns in his career, if I'm not mistaken. he didn't come back to bite us in terms of on the field. Now, personality-wise, sure. But we can't say that signing him long-term came back to bite us. We didn't win anything with him. Theoretically, we should have won a Super Bowl with that type of offense we had, but we didn't have the defense. So had we had some defense and had we had more opportunities in the AFC Championship game and more opportunities, to get to the Super Bowl because we were playing good football, we wouldn't be having that conversation. Think about it. As I even say that, it just reminds me, we did go to the AFC Championship game, got smacked. We came back and went 13-3 and had a first week bye, and then got beat 45-42 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That wasn't AB's fault. So I'm not willing to say that it didn't pan out. It panned out. Unfortunately, he just exploded in that final season. So can't say I completely agree with that. But I understand your point, though. But all right, man, let me get to the chat. We got about 5 minutes here left. John Gordon says, Sim, you want to see those? Oh, let me see. Appreciate that donation by Paul Bullock, man. Appreciate that. He says, Sim, you want to see those running lanes of yesteryear, draft a Willie Colon interior lineman type, and miraculously the running game will be front and center. Yeah. You guys are right about that, man. We can't overlook offensive line. That could end up being the pick, early, at least, third round. We got a lot of holes to fill, but I still feel like it's going to be best available at that number 49 pick. That's just my gut feeling. Kenya says, Steelers have shown interest in Cam Akers from Florida State, and they can get him in the 4th round. Kenyon. Don't play with my emotions like that. Don't do that. I love some Cam Akers, man, because only, of course, because he's a no, but I also like that kid. Nice back. And if you saying that he's going to be around in the 4th, yes, sir. Let's go get him. I'm sorry. And I don't care who on the roster. If we could get him later like that, 4th round or so, you got to take that chance and let him compete. And like I said, I like Karif White and I like a couple of these other guys, but I'm sorry. If you can get a Cam Akers, yeah, it is what it is. Compete and see who wins the job. Let's see what else. Rail says, production-wise, of course, was excellent, but cap-wise, it hurt us. Yeah, but okay, so you're taking that angle. Okay, that's a little different. You might be right. You might be right about that. But again, let's not forget, Ben Roethlisberger was one of the main reasons why that cap gets destroyed every year. $100 million man. So yes, AB contributed to that because we paid him decent money. But again, still, the way they massaged the cap, it probably didn't kill us too bad. Roethlisberger's contract has killed us more than anything else. But if you're taking that approach as far as cap, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Let's see. Jordan Mid says, that guy from TCU is who I want. Jalen Rager. Okay. Let me write his name down so I can check him out. I promise y'all I'm gonna have some guys to talk about on the next show. I won't fail you guys again. You believe that? Jalen Rager. All right, I will check him out. Ladell Herodes says, how about trading the 49th pick for a later 2nd round, an additional pick later? I mean, if it's there, if the opportunity is there, cool. Depending on what we're acquiring back. So I'm not opposed to that. Like I said, all depends on what we're getting back. But I'm not opposed to that at all. Brett Fine says, so no quarterback at all this year. Shout outs to Brian Spriggs for the sub, man. I thoroughly appreciate that. And again, like I said, I don't know if all of these guys are actually watching now, because this alert goes off if somebody is just browsing my channel. They don't have to be watching this, but if you're here, thank you. I don't know, Brett. I don't know if they go quarterback this year. It depends, man. It depends on who's there and at what round. Like I said, y'all might not want to hear it, but they have not given up on Mason Rudolph. Duck Hodges, on the other hand, that's a rotational piece. You know, who knows what the JT Barrett kid is going to do in camp. But, you know, if you can get a Jalen Hurts type of guy at the right spot, why not? You know, if Justin Herbert falls far enough, why not take a chance? But I just wouldn't expect it because of the amount of holes they have to fill. Technically, quarterback isn't necessarily the one they're going to go after first. I just don't think so. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, guys, I got time for maybe 2 more. Lance Watson says, I don't understand why we're so broke with no AB, no Bell on the payroll. Sean Davis is gone. It's Ben Roethlisberger, man. Trust me when I say that. You know, if you look around the league, most of these guys that are paying or making $100 million, they're weighing heavily on that cap. You know, you're going to start seeing the effects of it from a lot of these other teams very soon, too, like the Rams and teams like that. You'll see it. You'll see it. And also because, you know, we did pay a lot of other guys along with Roethlisberger, so that's why it's such a bad situation. One more. Sippy Boy says, I was going to ask, does Shazier still count against the cap? It does, but not to the degree where you think. But I do think they have to make a decision this year. You know, because his contract has told the last couple years, so which is significantly lower than what we would have had to have paid him. But I think they do have to make some type of decision in this coming off season. So we'll see how that plays out. Actually, one more, man. My boy Rough House Boxing in the building. What's up, Rough House? He said, got here late.
90 seconds.
Love. Y'all smash that like button. I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Rough House. And as y'all can hear, Blog Talk counting us down. We can actually go ahead and cut that off. Let me cut Blog Talk off real quick. It's going to say that we ended the show. All right, we go ahead and cut Blog Talk off right there, so I could keep talking for a few more moments.
60 seconds.
Oh, she's still talking. There she goes, still talking. Hold on, guys. Let me end it out. There it is. All right. Let's see. One last one. Droz Hill says, Sim, would you pick Mason over Trevor Lawrence? Mason who? Rudolph? Nah, bruh. Trevor Lawrence all day long. All day long. But here's the thing. Only because I think Trevor, obviously what we're seeing him do in Clemson, his upside seems to be higher. It's not fair to Mason Rudolph to say that because Mason Rudolph played fairly well in college as well. But yes, if I had my chance right now to take Trevor Lawrence instead of Mason Rudolph, of course, I would go Trevor Lawrence just because of, you know, recency bias. However, you know, that scenario is not even likely because, I mean, in order for us to be in a position to get him, that means this season is going to be very trash for us. So I don't even want to imagine something that's not going to happen. So, yeah. All right, man. So let me go ahead and get out of here, man. Appreciate you guys, man. Great show tonight, man. We got through a whole hour. I don't know how we did it. But, yeah. Appreciate you guys coming out. And I will be back next week. And, again, I will not let you down for another week. I will get on the film. I will be watching some guys tonight so I can have adequate and available information for you guys come next week where we plan to have the steel table with my brother Kenyon and my brother Tony, and we'll have a nice little discussion. But outside of that, hold up. I see we have a donation, man, so I'm gonna stay here for a second so we can give the proper just due. It's gonna tell you guys in a minute. Just don't want to get caught in the middle of it. That's why I'm waiting for a second. And there it is. All right, so we appreciate it. Odessa Hall Menifee, and Odessa looking at the picture, appears to be another ladies, guys. So this is 3 Steeler ladies that come and join us. So hello and shout outs to you, Odessa, as well. And if by chance it's somebody just using that account and you're not female, please let us know. But until further notice, we're going to assume that you are. So welcome, along with Lanisha Hayes and Debbie. Always got to be courteous and generous and nice and professional for the ladies. So appreciate the donation and appreciate you viewing. And perfect timing, right on cue. As before I go, if you guys feel the need to donate as well, like she did and others tonight, right here in the chat, there's a $ down in the bottom left corner, I believe. Have at it if you want to. Thank you in advance. But if you prefer outside of YouTube, as others have done, thank you guys. I'm not going to say your names. You know who you are. I appreciate that as well. There's Cash App. There's PayPal. Information is in the description. And like I said, thank you in advance. But outside of that, one thing I definitely need you to do is follow these steps right here. Thumbs up, subscribe, click on the notification. That's the least you can do. But outside of that, we'll be back next week to talk some prospects. And maybe we'll have some more news in terms of what the Steelers are doing and what situation they're in. Because I believe the new league, the new year will have started by next Tuesday. So got a lot to look forward to. And the last thing, guys, please stay healthy. Please stay healthy. Y'all know we got this crazy corona out there. So listen, man, just do your due diligence just like you would with the flu. Wash your hands. Sanitize. Try not to be breathed on if you can. You know, don't be overly panicky. Just take care of yourselves, man. The same way you would with any other virus and things like that. And just read up on what's really happening. Don't believe all the hype. Just read up on what's really happening and protect yourselves accordingly. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll catch you next week. And thank you for tuning in to Terrible Towel Tuesday. Peace.